Good day. My name is Mariana, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this online conversation with Mike Perk and Brendan Barry, where we'll unpack what it means to ensure organizations are future fit and future proof. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to joining in on our series of discussing digital transformation and the impact of cloud ERP. We recently had a great conversation with Mike Burke and his Cirrus partners about how to achieve a balance between tactical and adaptive performance. Basically, how do we ensure our organizations are future fit in an ever changing digital world? And how do we protect and grow, ensuring our organizations are future proof? And that's exactly what today's talk is all about, understanding long term vision while executing on evolving adaptive strategies, agile processes, the right people and partners, and the technology that enables growth and change. So let's delve into these pertinent points. It's a great honor to introduce our two guest speakers. Mike Perk is the CEO of WWC, a people focused digital transformation advisory. His passion is to help leaders grow and transform their organizations in the digital age, therefore becoming future fit. He enjoys learning and teaching in the digital space and do so through workshops and one-on-one coaching. Brendan Barry has extensive SAP industry experience. Brendan's industry, business process knowledge, and deep technical understanding enables him to interpret customer requirements and advise on best for purpose solutions that drive business efficiencies and growth, therefore helping them to future proof their organizations. So let us get the conversation going. Mike, I would like to hand over to you and ask that you share with us on what future fit and future proof means.
Mariana, thanks very much for having me, and it's so nice to share a platform with Brendan from Cirrus. I spend a lot of my time working with organizations that have implemented enterprise software, so it's always nice to get the stories from the cold face, those guys that are actually putting it in there. Because often when I get called in, it's because there's issues or there's problems with rolling out that software. But let me maybe give you a bit of a context to that problem first. Let's take analytics software as an example. So last year, 130 billion was spent around the world on analytics software, which if you turned 130 billion into $1 bills, it would fill 87 Burj Khalifas. That's a hell of a lot of money being spent. Now, when the C-suite are asked how well did that enterprise software implementation go, did it add any value? The majority of them come back. Normally 7 out of 10 say it didn't really add the value that we were expecting it. It caused a lot of friction. There were a lot of problems. So if you take 7 out of 10 of 87 Burj Khalifas, that's 61 Burj Khalifas full of single dollar bills of money wasted. So it's a big problem, and it's one that needs to be addressed. So what is that barrier? What is the barrier that is causing that issue? And more often than not, it's the people within the organization. It's their resistance to change. So let's talk about ERP systems and software and the resistance we get for that sometimes. Now imagine just asking people in your organization to change desks. I'm sure you've done this in your office before, and all hell breaks loose, right? Yeah. So now we're telling them, go and put a new system in place and start using it, and they get that natural resistance. Now, those organizations that we see that focus on helping their people through that change, as much as they do spending that time on the technology and the money on the technology, they're actually, according to MIT latest research, they're 37 to 52% more profitable than those organizations that don't think about the people during those processes of implementation. And the problem that we've got is that organizations currently are reinforcing this resistance to change in the way in which they approach business and approach these implementations. So they're hugely tactical, they're hugely strategic. They'll have a rollout plan, and this is how we're going to do it. And yet when the rubber hits the road, it doesn't always go like that. And, it's that inability to be agile, to adjust, that is causing those problems. And I think those organizations that can get that right, focus on the people, get that adaptability in line with their tactical side of things, they're the one winning the battle, right? so your question, Mariana, to me, actually, I've got a bit off. I tend to do this, but, was around future fitness. What does future fitness and future proofing mean? Well, the first is you have to bring that adaptability in your organization. Why do we say fitness? Because it's not something that you click your fingers and suddenly it's there. You have to work on that over time. I'm not a runner. I don't know, Brendan, you're a runner. Do you?
Well, I do a bit of cycling, yeah.
Okay, well, cycling. So cycling's a good analogy to use, right? So if you wanted to go on the Argus, you don't suddenly tomorrow go, I'm going to do it on this weekend. It takes a lot of time, a lot of road on the time on the road, right?
Absolutely,
yeah. So it's this thing where we have to build up to it. We have to first get in the gym, get on the whatever they call the spinning bikes. So you can see I'm not a cyclist. Those spinning things, and you slowly build up your competency, your fitness, in order to be there. And by the time you ride the Argus and you've got to do the hard yards, you're there and you're ready. And it's actually, it's tough, but it's easier to do, right?
Okay, yeah.
So that's the frame of mind that organizations need to take when approaching and trying to build that adaptability. So to be future fit, yes, they have to be adaptable. You have to have a very clear picture of the future, a vision. And I'm not talking a vision written down in a paragraph. This is something emotive. It's something that resonates. It's something that your team can mobilize behind. They can close their eyes and they can see this future. Because if they've got that, they've got a guiding light that they can aim towards, so that when things go wrong, they're not sitting there with a strategy document in their hand going, well, you know what, we didn't do that, or we didn't do this, and that's not the way we meant to do it. They can look to a bigger picture to go, actually, if we're aiming here, we need to adjust slightly. We need to be a little bit more mobile. So getting the team to motivate around that bigger vision is a critical one. And you don't do it with money. You don't do it by like slapping wrists and getting them just to get on with it. You've got to make sure that you're aligning them with the business purpose, with the business potential. And if you can do that, they can move towards it. And then the processes become easier. The processes of getting people to collaborate, to work together, that creativity, that innovation starts to come through. And the beauty is, then you've got, let's say it's an ERP system, you've got the tools which help that creativity, that help that innovation, that collaboration, that maybe they didn't have when they were just using an Excel sheet and flinging it across the room for someone to work on. I've spoken for a while. I don't know, is that sort of what you see, Brendan, when you're going into organizations, and are you hitting those roadblocks sometimes?
Absolutely, Mike. And obviously, as an implementation partner, we are mainly responsible for the technical side of things. So we come at it from very much a technical point of view. And, the question is, companies are not necessarily seeing the value of all the money and all the effort they've gone to in putting in an ERP system. And, for us, the technical is actually the easier bit. And, I think that, when you speak about the people, it's actually so critical to get the people elements of an implementation right, because it really makes or breaks it. So, and this comes in many aspects. So, the first thing obviously is to get your team together. So you've had a decision which was probably made at a board level, because it's actually, there's a strategic imperative that the business has seen that they need a system, and there are numerous reasons for that. But thereafter, you really need to involve the people in your business, in terms of firstly understanding that there's change coming. So we would say that a project consists of probably three things. There's obviously the technical side of things, and I'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. But then the other two elements is the change management element, which is what I think you are referring to. It's that process of preparing people, getting them fit for their long bike ride. And it does start right in the beginning, so you've got to get your guys together. You've got to get everybody on board in terms of understanding why it is that you are putting in a new system. So, and that needs to roll down through the organization. So the other very important element is for your people to know that this project or this initiative really has a support from the top down. And, there needs to be a very strong message that it's going to be hard, and it's going to be time consuming, and it's going to take you away from your from your day-to-day work, probably. You're going to have to work longer hours, so it's a bit of a mountain that's going to have to be climbed. And, but the benefit of that, it's really, you've got to start saying, it's going to be rough in the beginning. It's not necessarily going to go entirely as planned. Projects never go according to plan. So, all of those things, and a lot of it is around the people. So, there's that element. And then, of course, the other element in terms of people is extracting. So what's really key for a project, and, what we have to do right from the beginning is, and again, it comes back to involving the right people in the project, is we need to extract the information from the business in terms of what it is that they do, and how is it going to change, or how will that process look in the new world, So, and again, that's very much a communication and all around the understanding the needs of the business, but at the same time, saying that it's not going to be like it used to be. It's going there's that change management element where we have to prepare them for the road ahead.
Getting them involved and asking them those questions, just saying, what is your process, so that you can make sure that when you implement something, it's going to align with what their business needs. But that's also part of the buy-in, right? So now they feel involved in that process. They haven't just had something sort of dumped on them.
No.
It's managing that whole expectation.
And the more people are involved in it, obviously, the better they understand it. So when it eventually comes along, it's not new to them. It's actually, they've been through the journey. So that's really what it is. It's actually a journey.
It is, and they're likely to be champions, hopefully, because they were involved in it.
Absolutely,
that's what we always look for.
Yeah.
Cool. You started to talk a little bit about the technical side, and I know from a future-proof perspective, ERP systems, they just enable organizations to become future-proof just by having the technology that allows them to work easier, collaborate more. Maybe you can talk a little bit about some of those benefits.
Yeah, so traditional ERP, as we knew it, say, even 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, was really something that was only available because of the cost and the complexity involved to really big companies, big multinationals and global corporations. But over the last say 5 years, things have happened in terms of the technology that's evolved and what's available. So things are, for example, one of the big changes that has happened is around cloud computing. So we are very much a proponent of a cloud-based ERP system, and the combined computing power that cloud systems have means that ERP systems, enterprise class ERP systems that were previously only available to these big companies have become so much more available and so much more accessible to mid-range companies.
Yeah.
So the whole world has changed, and the other thing that we say is that you've got an ERP system, and obviously that's kind of the what we would say the sort of core of your business, but there are other technologies that are growing all the time. I mean, there's stuff that gets built every single day, and if you choose the right product, and it's an open and it's got APIs that allow other systems to come into it, you can take advantage of the numerous other systems. So I mean, SAP Business by Design, which is the ERP system which we sell. Obviously, it's built by SAP, which is have 40 years of ERP experience. I mean, they've been doing this. This is all they do. At the core of your system, you have a cloud-based ERP, and then around it you can add all of the other specialist systems that you may want, or there's a platform on which you can build. So if if you have a certain business process, which for you is a differentiator, a key differentiator, which you feel that you can't use a standard system, then the platforms are there to build on. And the beauty of it is that all of these things are generating vast quantities of information. And what we want to do is pull all that information into the core, so that you've got it along with all of the other information that your normal business processes are generating, and it's there to be analyzed and to be to give you insights into your business, to help you make better business decisions and quicker business decisions. So it's the technology really is incredible now.
I think that I find that so interesting, particularly that shift from the big, large organizations to mid-sized organizations being able to take advantage of this now. I mean, I deal with a lot of middle-sized organizations that are looking to maybe use AI, or thinking about how machine learning can be used with their data to add that sort of competitive advantage. But it just seems like it's just that little bit too far out of reach. They don't know what to spend their money on, and then they've got to develop it all themselves. So what you're saying is now, because of, to a certain extent, because of cloud, a bit of a commoditization around this, that it enables these mid-sized organizations to keep pace, because they can take advantage of way more people than they've got in their organization, and way more money than they've got to spend on this stuff, and use that to enhance, obviously, what they deliver to the customer.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. So, you made a very good point there. So, if you buy into one of these cloud-based ERP systems, or actually any cloud-based system, one of the real advantages is obviously that the software vendors are keeping those systems up to date all the time. So you don't need to worry about upgrades. It really just takes care of itself. And it also means that you're up to date with the latest and greatest technology, that they are continuously busy evolving, and that these companies they spend vast amounts of money on R&D, which, like you say, you wouldn't do because ERP is not your business. ERP is software vendors' business. So yeah, I mean,
and they've got all their partners that are obviously leveraging off this platform as well. So it's exponential in a way in terms of what could come out and what could materialize.
Absolutely.
That's
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Maybe you've got some, as I said at the start, I mean, what I really enjoy is hearing stories of on the ground sort of implementations. Maybe you can give us an example of some good, some bad and ugly, of your experience, and how you've maybe coped with those challenges you faced.
Well, typically, we go into a company, and what we find, especially in this mid-range space, that very often, you've got a multitude of systems. So they might have one system for production, they might have one system for sales, and then they'll have an accounting system. So you're running multiple systems, none of which are talking to each other. So, there's a problem already. So your data is not aligned. All of them have got spreadsheets. So, there are
Excel all over the place.
Excel everywhere, yeah, absolutely. So, that's a very typical kind of scenario that we go into. And we've just recently done an implementation at a sweet manufacturing company here in Johannesburg.
Cool.
Yeah. And that was very much the case, So they had, different departments running different systems, lots of spreadsheets. And I mean, they were running or are running a very successful business, but they didn't really feel that they had the control. So, as a sweet manufacturer, probably making, I think, 40 tons a day of sweets, you can just imagine, the volumes of raw materials that are coming in, for example. So, sugar coming in every single day on big trucks, and, all of the flavors, and, all of the stuff. And they really didn't know, what they had at any point in time, So, there's that part of the issue, and they've seen a huge improvement in, the control over how they buy, how they receive, how they manage their stock. And of course, at the heart of all of this is your your accounting system. So, at the push of a button in real time, they will know what is, where are we? What is our, what are our costs? What are our revenues? What are our profits? So it really, it's been a game changer for them. And it's so gratifying to see that.
It sounds like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
I saw a documentary on, I think it was Rowntrees in the UK, just recently. And the complexity of a operation like someone that makes sweets, just the different components, and also the fact that if you stop any part of this process, if you don't understand these things, so it amazes me that there are still organizations out there that size that are still doing a lot of this manual work. And it causes, it's not just that it's causes more time to be made. It can't be fun for staff, right? It doesn't allow them to get into that creative thinking mode because they're having to just move paper, in essence, be machines.
Absolutely. And, obviously one of the things we like to say, one of the benefits that you'll get is around removing all of those kind of mundane and repetitive tasks, so let a machine do that because, that's what they're good at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. The last sort of 100 years, I think we've been judged in our work as to how well we can be like a machine, how fast we can type, how quickly we can do an Excel spreadsheet. This is what excites me about digital transformation. We have the opportunity with systems coming in like ERPs, big ERP systems and SAP, that they're taking that work back from us. I know people are worried about jobs and things, but actually I'm excited because all of that work's going to be done and we can get involved in the collaboration, the innovation, the creative thinking to take our organizations that step further. That's where I want to be as a worker.
Absolutely. It should make people's jobs more meaningful, rather than remove their jobs. We don't always, you don't necessarily see a massive reduction in staff after implementing a system. You should see, hopefully a more productive staff. And maybe over time you don't need to hire as many people. But certainly, I think it really helps, people, it improves people's work lives. And, that also is, it's very satisfying to see that.
Which is, if that is the point of an organization, we are beyond just the profit line now in businesses, and it's about all stakeholders. And if you do care about your staff, yes, there's pain to rolling these things out, but this is going to allow them to be more fulfilled in their work on a day-to-day basis. And that's all I campaign for in life, So, I think that's fantastic. Maybe we can, Marianne, maybe you've got some questions coming in from our listeners, our viewers.
Thank you, Mike. What a great and informative conversation so far. While we give the participants a few more minutes to post their questions, something that came to mind, talking about the interlink between people, process, and technology, I've also heard you mention resistance to change. Say I'm convinced after today's conversation to implement a cloud ERP solution. What is the practical first step to get over that resistance barrier and to embrace cloud and technology in this digital age that we live in?
Well, can I take that one? Because certainly from my side is paint that picture of potential. You've got, if you've got a very clear purpose within your organization, and you can align this picture of the future, what ERP is going to do for your workplace, for your staff, for your customers, how you're going to be able to engage better with your customers. Sell that picture. Sell it to the team, because then they're excited. Then they're going to go, okay, well, I'm willing to go through a little bit of pain. I'm willing to sort of go through that to get there, because I can see this beautiful thing at the end, which I know is going to make my life better. It's going to make our customers better, because most of your staff care. Most of your staff care about the other people they work with. They care about the customer at the end of the day. So if you can sell that picture, get them involved in what that picture is going to look like, because I promise you, when they start at whatever level in the organization, they start to say what they want their organization to be like, you'll find that the ERP system will sell itself, because they'll come through with all the things that will help to achieve. So that would always be my first starting point, because then you've got a whole team ready to go. I make it sound like it's easy after that. It's not, but that's the starting point. You asked what was the first thing.
And also maybe just to add to what Mark's saying there, is that, obviously we talk a lot about cost around these things, but I think really the focus should not be on cost, it should be on value. So it's sure, it's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you money to implement it. It's going to cost you money to run it on a monthly basis. But what you really need to look at and consider is how much more efficiency are you getting? How much are you saving in stock write-offs? So there's a huge amount. People. It sounds obvious as well, but I think people forget about it. They just look at the cost.
100%. I'm working with an organization at the moment where they've still got quite a manual process with their Excel spreadsheet. We were doing things around, like, we was helping them to set their picture of potential, and you should have seen the amount of time wasted while they're waiting for documents to come from one place to another to collaborate. I promise you, you could save the money in a week just by having something that's far more efficient at managing those documents. It is that simple for a lot of organizations.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But I'm preaching to the converts.
I'm going to interrupt you. As there is a question that came in from Mark, and he asks, we've been judged by how we do repetitive work. What are the emerging performance metrics that help shift corporate thinking so that we can measure what drives the new behaviors?
Okay, so that's a good question. How long do we have to consult on that? I think, look, firstly, it's even before you get to the measures side, and I'm not trying to avoid your question. I think what we'll do is we'll pull down some stuff for you after this that can give you maybe some specific metrics. But the first thing you have to do is you have to change that C-suite's understanding around metrics, about things being very, very results driven. The nature of where we're going in this disruptive world means we have to be more agile, we have to be more adaptive. And my worry is that when KPIs are set in a very finite perspective of we're going to see this result, we're going to see this change, the reality is that goes against everything we're trying to do. It reinforces this control element. So if you need to bring adaptability and innovation in play, we've got to think differently about it. We've got to take away some of those metrics. Let's talk about sales, for example. So a salesperson is all done on sales. It's how many sales have you made for the month? A new metric might be when you're sitting up doing those sales meetings, how much new information are you bringing to me about the customer? And we're going to reward you on that information. We're going to reward you on insights that you bring. It's a very different, it's not that hard metric, but we know that if our teams are looking to gain insights out of from their customers, they're going to help to grow the companies. We've got to reward that. And some of that is being a little bit blind going forward, but that's why we need to get the ExCo involved, and we need to get them to buy into that.
And Mike, maybe just to add to that is that if you've got the right systems in place, there's so much information being generated out of so many different sources that the ability to create these metrics is actually a lot easier now because, the data is there. And if you've got the right tools to analyze it and to understand it, then, maybe these new metrics will kind of present themselves out of that.
Fantastic. It's the culture metrics. It's can we measure heart in the organization? Can we measure all of those things? And I think they're starting to come through, and we're starting to see them in some of the organizations we work with.
That's so good. And I just love this conversation, but we are unfortunately running out of time. We have received a great question from Louis. So can I maybe post the question together with asking Mike and Brendan whether you would leave us with some last remarks or thoughts on future fit and future proof? So Louis' question reads, can you give us some insights into what practical steps we can take in the months before launching a change management program, planning and preparing?
Okay, they're probably two very different questions. Very quickly on the what to do before launch, make a big thing about it. Make a launch of it. Really get the excitement within the organization going. If we're selling a new product as an organization, we go hell and high water to tell everyone. We get all the customers excited, but we don't tend to do that internally in the organization. So treat it like a rollout of a new product and communicate internally. So that's answering Louis' question very, very quickly. In terms of my last sort of comment. If you are an organization that is feeling like you're doing too much manual work, that you're feeling like there's chaos going on around you, there is a need to digitally transform. But when you approach that, it's not about the technology. No one's going to be able to come and put tech in that's going to solve that solely. You've got to find that balance between tech, people, process. And one story that maybe I can leave you with that helps to highlight this for me is the story of the Wizard of Oz. So some of you will know this. Dorothy, a farm girl from Kansas, gets lifted up by this tornado and taken to this wonderful world of Oz where she meets the snowman. She doesn't mean the snow, the scarecrow, the lion, and the Tin Man. Right? And she's got to navigate this yellow brick road to try and find the Emerald City, her future vision. Now, that's very similar to digital transformation. The problem is lots of organizations worry about the tornado, worry about this disruption, and feel like we've got to try and control it. But actually, the story of the Wizard of Oz was about the journey. It was about the people you met. It was about the challenges you faced and how you dealt with those and moved on. So I would say, as a parting shot, when you're thinking about this technology, when you're thinking about digital transformation, view it like Dorothy on the Wizard of Oz. You're going on the yellow brick road. There's going to be bends and turns, but treat it like a journey, a learning experience, and that will get you there, and it'll help you deal with those problems when they arise.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of, last thought for me, in terms of future-proofing your business, I will come back to the technology again and just say, because, it's technology which enables this digital transformation and, all the benefits you get from it. So for me, it's really, it's a lot about choosing the right technology, so choose a product, choose a vendor, which is going to go with you along this journey and, help actually prepare the way in some ways, or show you the roadmap, or, however you want to put it. So, it's about choosing the right technology, the right products, and it's about also, choosing the right partners to walk along that road with you.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Amazing. Mike and Brendan, thank you so much for sharing your experience and insights with us. It certainly has been a very informative session. Thank you to each one of you who joined us. Please do not hesitate to reach out to any of us if you have any questions or would like to discuss any of the points mentioned today. Hope to see you all at our next conversation. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Elektron is a company making synthesizers, drum machines and samplers. Man and machine should really gel together to make it something unique.
We don't want to take our valuable resources to spend on an ERP system. It's better that we do what we think we are good at, and we picked the SAP Business by Design. We have great plans to become even more digital, and we need a system that can support that for us. Everyone is pleased with what they see.
This has been a big improvement for me already.
It's been like a real team effort to make it happen. Now with SAP Business by Design, we have the tools we need to grow and follow our vision and the business plan we have.